7 energy frequencies that make or break a Dark Chosen One's power. You know when you feel it. That vibration in your chest that doesn't come from excitement or fear, but from something ancient. A memory deeper than the mind, older than the body. It hums beneath the surface of your life like a forgotten song. It's not just spiritual energy. It's destiny coded in frequency. And if you are a Dark Chosen One, you don't stumble into this awareness. You're summoned to it. But here's the truth. No one tells you. Being chosen isn't enough. Power isn't guaranteed. You can be chosen and still fall. You can be chosen and still stay stuck. Because what makes or breaks your power isn't your gifts, it's your energy frequency. 7 frequencies to be exact. And right now, whether you know it or not, these 7 are either building your throne or burying your crown. We live in a vibrational universe. Everything you think, say, feel, and do emits frequency, and every frequency either aligns you with your highest archetype or fractures you into fragments of who you could have been. For us, those born with coded memory, those who've walked through shadows not as victims but as initiates, frequency is not just spiritual fluff. It's our weapon, it's our compass, it's our currency. And if we don't master the 7 core frequencies, we become the very thing we were sent here to dismantle.
Click subscribe to this channel to get more profound spiritual lesson.
The first frequency is resonant integrity. This frequency doesn't care about image or performance. It's not about sounding spiritual or acting woke. It's about alignment, the congruence between your inner truth and your outer expression. If you say you're here to awaken others, but you're still lying to yourself about your own wounds, your frequency betrays you. You can chant, meditate, perform rituals, but if your energy is split between truth and illusion, you vibrate in distortion, and distortion repels power. You can't fake integrity. You can't fake presence. Your body becomes the proof. Your choices become your broadcast. And the universe isn't listening to your words, it's responding to your frequency. Every time you betray your knowing, every time you bend your truth to please or manipulate or survive, you lower your resonance. You exit the path of power and enter the realm of potential. And potential not acted upon becomes regret. I've seen it. I've lived it. The second frequency is energetic sovereignty. If you're constantly absorbing energy that isn't yours, constantly drained by people, environments, or even spiritual communities that don't honor your essence, you've already lost. Sovereignty isn't about isolation. It's about discernment. It's knowing what enters your field and why. It's being able to walk into a room full of chaos and remain unmoved. I'm not talking about being cold, I'm talking about being clear. If your aura is porous, if your boundaries are weak, if your nervous system is constantly hijacked by collective fear, projections, or unhealed family karma, how can you channel higher frequencies? How can you embody divine intelligence if you're constantly leaking energy to people who aren't even on your timeline? This is one of the most overlooked initiations for Dark Chosen Ones. We are born empathic. We feel everything. But feeling is not the same as owning. You must learn to feel deeply without drowning, to sense everything and still choose what you embody. The third frequency is shadow alchemy. This is where most spiritual systems fail. They teach light, but they fear darkness. They teach surrender, but they avoid rage, grief, and sacred rebellion. But as a dark chosen one, your power is not found in bypassing shadow, it's found in transmuting it. Shadow alchemy is the frequency of radical self-ownership. It's being able to sit with your jealousy, your bitterness, your lust, your rage, and not judge it, not suppress it, but listen to it, use it, alchemize it. Your shadow is not your enemy, it is unintegrated power. It's the part of you that remembers lifetimes of betrayal and still chose to return. It's the part of you that bites, that shakes, that rages, because you know too much to pretend. And when you learn to hold your shadow with reverence instead of shame, it becomes your dragon, not your demon. Ask yourself this: what part of you are you still hiding because you think it's too much, too dark, too dangerous? That's exactly where your next level of power lives. The fourth frequency is sacred devotion, not to a person, not even to a spiritual system. I'm talking about devotion to your own path, your own alignment, your own sacred assignments. Devotion is what you do when no one's watching. It's the energy you bring to your rituals, your silence, your healing. It's what keeps you grounded when the world offers you distractions dressed as opportunities. Without devotion, you drift. You start chasing trends. You start trying to look powerful instead of being powerful. But with devotion, you become immovable. You become a force. Devotion aligns your soul with divine timing. It makes your body a temple of remembrance. Everything you touch becomes encoded with presence. You don't need to explain yourself. Your vibration speaks for you. And here's where it gets real. These frequencies are not philosophies, they are technologies. They are the software of your energetic system. And just like any technology, if you don't update them, if you don't maintain the vibrational integrity of your field, you'll crash, you'll glitch, you'll start manifesting things that look good on the surface but feel wrong in your bones. You'll attract lovers, allies, and mentors that mirror your unhealed frequencies and call it fate. But it's not fate, it's feedback. Every frequency you radiate sends a signal, and that signal returns to you tenfold. This is not punishment, this is precision. The universe is not judging you, it's mirroring you. So I must ask you now, and I want you to really feel this question in your marrow. What are you broadcasting right now? Not what you want to be, not what you post, not what you say in ceremony. What are you actually vibrating? Because that frequency is shaping your reality, and no amount of spiritual talk can override what your energy is truly saying. And this is only the beginning. The hidden frequencies of collapse. How power is lost in plain sight. Most dark chosen ones don't lose their power in a dramatic fall from grace. It doesn't happen in a single explosive moment where everything burns down. No, it's far more quiet than that, more subtle, more dangerous. You lose power in the small choices, the unspoken compromises, the whispers you ignore. You lose it not like a warrior slain in battle, but like a god slowly forgetting their name. And what makes it so treacherous is that it all happens in plain sight. You can still be posting, meditating, healing, helping others, and yet, underneath it all, your frequency begins to rot. Not because you're evil or weak, but because you stopped listening. You stopped feeling. You started negotiating with energies that were never meant to sit at your table. This brings us to the fifth frequency, energetic compromise. It's the slow decay that happens when you say yes to things that dilute your essence. When you allow people, opportunities, or even spiritual ideologies into your field that don't resonate with your core, but you keep them anyway because they offer validation, comfort, or visibility. Every time you say yes to something that doesn't feel true, you fracture, not in a loud way, in a way that's almost invisible, until one day you wake up and realize you don't recognize your own energy anymore. You're still doing the work, but the work isn't working. You're still showing up, but your presence feels hollow. That's the cost of compromise, and compromise always begins with self-abandonment. Always. You must understand, your power is not just in what you say yes to, it's in what you refuse, what you walk away from, what you are willing to lose in order to remain clear. Because everything you tolerate that is beneath your frequency becomes a parasite in your field. It feeds off your sacred energy and you don't even notice. Until your gifts stop flowing, your intuition gets muddy and your body starts to ache. That's not just burnout, that's energetic betrayal. And you are the one betraying you. The sixth frequency is one no one likes to talk about because it's uncomfortable. It's unresolved grief. And I'm not just talking about grief from death or loss. I'm talking about the grief of being misunderstood your entire life. The grief of loving people who couldn't meet you. The grief of having to dim your light just to survive in rooms that weren't built for your fire. This grief is ancient. Yes, it's layered, and if you don't face it, if you don't feel it, it calcifies into density. You can be surrounded by beauty, success, opportunity, and still feel empty inside. Because unprocessed grief is like static in your field. It keeps you half present, half alive, half awake. Some of the most powerful chosen ones I've met were also the most wounded, not because they lacked strength, but because they never let themselves mourn what they lost to become strong. They put on the armor, they built the empire, they mastered the rituals, but they never cried for the child that had to grow up too fast. They never wept for the friendships that died when they changed. They never honored the version of themselves that had to die just to make room for who they are now. That version deserves a funeral. Your healing deserves grief. Without it, your power becomes performative. You become a vessel full of light and full of ghosts. So I ask you now, and this question isn't casual, it's sacred. What haven't you grieved yet because you were too busy ascending? What sadness still lives in your bones, heavy and silent, waiting to be witnessed? That grief is not your weakness, it is your access point to depth. And depth is what separates a surface-level mystic from a true embodied force of nature. The seventh frequency is the most paradoxical and the most misunderstood. It is frequency of surrender. Not the kind of surrender where you give up, not collapse, not defeat, but the sacred surrender that says, I trust what is unfolding, even when I don't control it. I trust my guidance, even when I can't explain it. I trust my frequency, even when no one else understands it. This kind of surrender isn't passive. It's radical, it's fierce, it requires a level of faith that most people never reach because they're still trying to micromanage their miracles, still trying to force an outcome, still trying to manifest from a place of fear instead of alignment. But when you truly surrender, your frequency becomes magnetic. You stop chasing, you stop forcing, you stop begging the universe to give you what you think you need, and instead You become a living frequency match to everything your soul already knows is yours. But that only happens when you release control, when you stop manipulating your timeline, when you stop outsourcing your power to signs, oracles, or validation. Surrender is the final frequency that unlocks your full power, not because it gives you more, but because it returns you to what's already inside you. Let go of the illusion that you need to fight for your future. Let go of the belief that your worth is measured by how hard you grind. Let go of the fear that if you don't control everything, it'll all fall apart. That fear is a residue of programming meant to keep you trapped in survival frequency, and survival energy can never magnetize divine outcomes. The moment you surrender to your own divine rhythm, the universe shifts to meet you. Not because you asked louder, but because you finally matched the signal. So now the question becomes, are you willing to let go of the timeline you built from fear to receive the future that's built on truth? The frequency of kingship, how dark chosen ones anchor power without losing their soul. There is a moment every dark chosen one reaches, a threshold, a crossroads, a reckoning. You've done the work. You've faced the shadows, integrated the grief, reclaimed your sovereignty, and surrendered to your divine rhythm. And now you stand at the edge of kingship. Not the egoic kind, not the performative kind, but the kind of sovereignty that radiates from within and realigns everything in your external world. But this level of power comes with a silent danger, because once you start to rise, really rise, there is a temptation to forget the very frequencies that brought you here. There is a subtle pull to trade essence for empire, truth for influence, soul for scale. And if you are not rooted in your core frequency, you'll lose your soul, not with a scream, but with a smile. Kingship isn't about ruling others. It's about ruling your own field. It's about becoming the gravitational center of your reality, anchored, clear, and unshakable. When you walk into a room, the room shifts. When you speak, the atmosphere bends. When you choose, timelines rearrange. Not because you're trying to dominate, but because your frequency is so stable that the universe can't help but respond. But that kind of energetic weight requires preparation. It requires capacity. And capacity is built in silence, forged in grief, tempered in fire. You don't get to skip that part. You don't get to fast-track your kingship because of talent or charm. You earn it by staying true when it would be easier to perform. You earn it by being invisible without losing your voice. You earn it by holding power without becoming its prisoner. You must understand this. Power is seductive, especially spiritual power, and especially for the dark chosen ones, because we've lived lifetimes of suppression, lifetimes of being burned, silenced, misunderstood. So when we finally taste power, when the world starts to recognize us, it's easy to compensate, to overcorrect, to start building from the wound instead of the wisdom. That's how kings become tyrants. That's how visionaries become salesmen. That's how sacred missions become marketing campaigns, not because they were evil, because they forgot. They forgot why they started. They forgot what it cost them to awaken. They forgot that the crown is not a reward, it's a responsibility. So how do we anchor kingship without losing our soul? We remember that power is not ours, it flows through us. We are vessels, not owners. When you anchor that truth, You stop hoarding, you stop competing, you stop fearing that someone else's rise is your fall. You move from lack to legacy. You become a portal, not a product. You build empires that don't just elevate you, they elevate everyone who enters your field. Your presence becomes a frequency that liberates, not dominates. And liberation is the highest form of leadership. But to lead at this level, you must be willing to let go of the need to be liked. You must be willing to disappoint people who only loved the version of you that needed their approval. You must be willing to walk away from systems that reward your silence but punish your truth. Because kingship demands clarity. And clarity often looks like loneliness. That it's a sacred loneliness. It's the space between your old life and your real one. It's the space between being a seeker and becoming a source. Ask yourself this, and ask it from the deepest, most honest place within you. Are you building a kingdom that reflects your truth? Or are you building a prison made of praise, applause, and safe answers? Because many have built thrones out of trauma. Many have built altars to their egos and called it spirituality. But you are being asked for something more, something purer, something that cannot be faked, sold, or scaled. You are being asked to embody what others only perform, and that embodiment requires restraint. It requires patience. It requires knowing when to speak and when to stay silent, when to build and when to burn it all down, when to lead and when to disappear into the void, not for attention but for recalibration. Kingship isn't constant visibility, it's strategic presence. You don't need to always be seen if your frequency is doing the speaking. That's the secret most never learn. True power doesn't shout, it resonates. It doesn't beg to be heard, it is heard because it carries the weight of embodiment. And let's be clear, anchoring this frequency isn't about perfection. You will still falter, you will still be tempted, there will be moments where the old patterns call you back, where the old wounds try to wear new masks. But the difference now is awareness. You'll feel the off vibration instantly. You'll recognize when you're slipping into performance. You'll sense when your field is being compromised, and you'll course correct not through shame, but through remembrance. That's what makes you unstoppable. Not that you never fall, but that you return again and again to your core frequency. That's the mark of a true king or queen. You don't chase power. You become the embodiment of such deep energetic integrity that power finds you, aligns with you, serves through you. So I leave you with this. Can you hold your crown when no one is watching? Can you honor your soul's blueprint when the world offers you shortcuts? Can you build an empire that doesn't steal your essence but sanctifies it? Because that's what kingship really is, and only the anchored can rise without breaking, becoming the signal how to transmit a frequency that changes everything around you. There is a moment when you are no longer just on the path, you are the path. You stop searching for signs and you become the signal. You stop needing proof and you become the presence. This is the final shift. The ultimate frequency where a dark chosen one no longer just navigates the world, they reshape it simply by existing in their full, unfiltered, unshakable truth. At this level, you don't need to convince, convert, or compete. Your frequency does the work, your vibration becomes a transmission, and that signal, when it's clean, embodied, and aligned, alters everything it touches. But here's the paradox. You don't get here by trying to get here. You arrive by letting go of the performance, of the pressure, of the need to be understood. You become the signal the moment you stop tuning yourself to the noise of the world and start vibrating from your own inner broadcast tower. This isn't about volume, it's about clarity. It's about being so internally attuned that your very presence activates others, not because you tried, but because you are. Most people try to change the world by pushing. They strategize, optimize, hustle. But the chosen ones are here to change the world by resonating, by embodying a frequency so coherent that it disrupts distortion. You've felt it before. You've walked into a room and felt the energy shift when the right person entered. They didn't have to speak. Their field spoke for them. That's not charisma. That's not social skill. That's energetic coherence. And you can't fake it, you can't download it, you can't brand it. It comes from being whole. To become the signal is to take full responsibility for your field. Every thought, every emotion, every silent decision, these are your vibrations. They are not just private moments, they are broadcasts. Every room you enter, every person you meet, every conversation you have, you are either elevating the frequency or echoing the distortion. And the most powerful people I've ever met didn't speak the most, they listened the deepest, they didn't push their energy, they held it, they didn't try to impress, they allowed their truth to rest in the space like a tuning fork, and everything around them adjusted. But this level of presence doesn't come from ego. It comes from emptiness, not the void of lack, but the sacred emptiness that remains when you've burned away all false identities, when you've let go of who you thought you had to be, when your soul is no longer trying to perform, but simply express. That's when your energy becomes clean, and only clean energy transmits. Everything else just reflects. So ask yourself, are you transmitting or reflecting? Are you living from an inner signal, or are you still mirroring the noise around you? Because if you're still adjusting yourself for acceptance, still toning down your truth to stay safe, still outsourcing your authority to systems, teachers, or algorithms, you're not broadcasting, you're echoing. And echoes never change the world. Only signals do. Becoming the signal means you are no longer waiting. You're no longer in preparation mode. You're no longer waiting for enough followers, enough money, enough clarity, enough permission. You realize that what you are is already enough when fully embodied. You stop chasing platforms and start cultivating presence. You stop asking, how can I reach more people? And start asking, how deeply can I embody my truth in every breath, every word, every choice? Because when your frequency is real, people feel it. And when they feel it, they follow it. Not because you ask them to, but because their soul recognizes the resonance. You don't need to go viral to be powerful. You don't need to be famous to be legendary. What you do need is to be unmistakably you. Fully, unapologetically, consistently. Because there is no algorithm more powerful than aligned energy, no marketing stronger than embodied truth, no trend greater than timeless vibration. And when you live as the signal, when you are no longer performing but simply being, you stop reacting to the world and start recreating it. So I ask you one final time, what signal are you sending into the world with your life? Not just your words, not just your posts, but your actual presence. Is it clean? Is it coherent? Is it true? Because the world doesn't need more noise. It doesn't need more content. It needs clarity. It needs people who are so rooted in their frequency that they become living codes of liberation. You are one of them. You wouldn't still be here if you weren't. So stop waiting, become the signal, and let everything else rearrange itself around your truth.